First, how are our PCCs feeling on their second birthday? Tim Parker tracked them down to a conference in North Yorkshire to find out.
Police and crime commissioners have promised a lot. They all say they'll protect and support victims and witnesses. But what else have they learned? Here in the East Midlands, we've got a variety of PCCs with different priorities. Overseeing the Nottinghamshire force is Paddy Tipping, a former Labour MP, well used to politics. In Derbyshire, Alan Charles left the county council behind to take up the commissioner's job on behalf of the Labour Party. And in Leicestershire and Rutland, it's the former head of the RAF, the ex-fighter pilot Sir Clive Loader, a political newcomer. He joined the Conservatives to become their candidate. So what have they achieved? We caught up with a gathering of PCCs at a conference in Harrogate.
Performance is going in the direction that it should be, including crime coming down. We are also protecting the vulnerable in various ways, youth, mental health and so on. Thirdly, I've opened up a proper accountability through the Chief Constable to the police, as the public would expect. And lastly, I've opened up that conduit between the public and the police via various things, including the contacts to my office and so on.
I think the highlights and achievements is working with partners. The police can't do everything on their own, so it's local authorities, particularly third sector groups as well, like women's aid, domestic abuse support groups, sexual abuse support groups, and very importantly as well, child sex exploitation support groups like Safe and Sound in Derby City. Been working very closely with them.
In the 2 years since the role began, every PCC in the region's had to adapt to do more with less money. But what else have they learned?
Well, I learn every day, believe me. But I think probably the biggest single thing is the criticality of partnership working. The police alone cannot keep streets safe. It is a deep partnership effort, and getting all the partners on board, working together, systems thinking rather than thinking in silos, as it were, is critical to delivering the police and crime plan and keeping our communities safe.
I have to say, with a whole Police and Crime Commissioner position, the absolute key in this is that relationship between the Commissioner and the Chief Constable. And I'm really pleased to say that our relationship is very professional, it works very well, but it's still challenging. I still hold the Chief to account. I do that openly in a transparent meeting every month where the media, your colleagues, come to those meetings, and I really look at the performance of the force in that.
Every Police and Crime Commissioner has had to write and update a police and crime plan like this. But will all this hard work be worth it if after the next election the job's abolished?
Well, Paddy Tipping, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Nottinghamshire, is here with us in the studio. And as we heard in Tim's report there, Paddy, you were already an experienced politician. So how have the last 2 years been for you?
It's been a great job. It's the best thing I've ever done. I've been really worked with people hard to make change and try and make people safer. So I'm really fortunate to have the job, and I'm keen to keep it.
Better than being an MP?
It's a lot better being an MP, Mary, because I'm here and around in Nottingham and Nottinghamshire, meeting great people, meeting a few villains as well, but actually working with partners to get things done.
Of course, your own party, the Labour Party, would get rid of PCC. So although you say you'd like to keep your job, they have other ideas.
Well, I'm planning and plotting my demise. And,
Not your demise.
No, I am. Like Alan, I've always had doubts about police and crime commissioners. I think one person running the police accountable to the public every 4 years maybe doesn't make sense. Labour will be consulting on what I think will be better alternatives shortly, but generally it will be a police and crime panel with an executive chairman, and that executive chairman will take on many of the things that I do at the moment.
So what real difference do you think you have made in the last 2 years, Paddy?
Well, I think I've done loads of things, but let me give you 3 examples. Alcohol is a big problem if you have too much of it. We've worked hard with partners, the local councils, the courts, the NHS, to have a proper strategy together. Antisocial behaviours, a big issue. Maybe not a big enough issue in the past for the police, but I mean, I'm just an ordinary person. I want people to feel safe and secure and happy and proud of their areas. And of course, I've always been interested in domestic violence, and we've invested a lot of time, a lot of focus and a lot of money into improving services, and I'm delighted we're making progress.
Delighted that he's making progress, but clearly, Alan, your party would get rid of police and crime commissioners just like him.
Yes, I mean, my party, again, were not in favour of the introduction of police and crime commissioners right from the start, although we put good people forward, like Paddy, who were very successful in Nottinghamshire, and I'm glad we did. Having said that, you know, it is the time's right to look at a different way of managing police resources.
Nick, what do you think the difference has been to you in your role as the leader of a county council, having contact with a police and crime commissioner like Sir Clive?
Well, I have regular meetings with him as the county leader, but we also run the police and crime panel on his for the county. We have a good working relationship with him, and I think the police and crime commissioner, as a figurehead for the public, is a good post. And generally speaking, I think the police and crime commissioners, like Paddy, have done a good job.
But would people in the county really notice the difference from having a police and crime commissioner?
Well, if you went to a chief executive thing, in my view, it would be no difference to the old police board or whatever it was. I think the idea of a figurehead who is accountable to the electorate every 4 years is a good principle. Obviously, I disagree with the Labour Party who want to abolish them, but that's politics for you.
So you'd be fighting to keep hold of them?
Well, it comes down to who wins the general election. It won't be mine or Alan's choice. It'll be who wins the general election and which policies are adopted.
Well, you say you've done some good things, Paddy, and it certainly sounds like you've achieved some of those things that you were talking about. But crime figures, realistically, were already coming down, weren't they?
Crime's been coming down, but shoplifting's up across the country. Domestic violence reports have gone up. Historic sexual reports have gone up. Those are good things, actually, because we want more people to come in. But the police have been losing numbers across the East Midlands. I think, actually, we might be at the point of turn, and we might be seeing crime going up in the not too distant future.
This is another challenge ahead for you as a PCC. News this week, of course, that 1 in 6 police posts will go in the next 3 years. You've got further funding challenges in the future for Nottinghamshire. How are you going to cope with fewer officers, as we hear, this 1 in 6 posts?
Well, we're doing a lot with other police forces. So, for example, we have a serious crime squad, a murder squad across the region. My own view is if we can do that for serious crime, we ought to do it for back office costs, and we're working hard to make that happen. I have to say it's not been easy because we go at the pace of the slowest, but if we can reduce costs there, share equipment, buy common equipment, hopefully we can maintain the front line.
It's worrying, though, to hear that you say that crime is going to go up. What kind of crime is going to go up, and what's going to make that happen?
Shoplifting's up across the country. Domestic violence is up, but I think that's because women are more prepared to report. And things like the Savile case have brought forward accusations that need to be really investigated vigorously of serious sexual abuse.
What's your reaction to his view that crime is going to be on the up?
I think there is a tendency for it to go up, and you're right there could be some loss of policemen throughout the East Midlands, but Paddy's got it absolutely right. We need to combine back offices, share services where we can, make sure we're all using the same equipment, make sure that regional crime has a regional body to look at it. I mean, I'm not in favour of regions, but there's certain things, crime doesn't just stay in Leicestershire. It could easily drift over the border to Nottinghamshire, start in Derbyshire.
But the people in your county want to be sure that crime is going to be tackled effectively in your county, and with fewer resources and fewer people in posts. How's that possible?
Well, money's tight for everyone, Anne-Marie. It's tight for the BBC, it's tight for a county council, it's tight for the police, it's tight for the fire authority. I think what we've got to do is make the best job we can with the money we've got. People don't want to pay any more taxes, so there's nothing else we can do.
Further cuts to come, Alan, as we hear to the police force only this week. How are you going to tackle that?
Well, it's clear that it's short-sighted to keep cutting police budgets. Public expectations are high around policing. People have a right to feel safe in their communities. But, you know, local governments facing the same sort of cuts. We're looking at doing things differently, working in different ways, delivering services in different ways, and right across the public sector, including the police, I've no doubt that'll be the way things are going.
OK, well, Paddy Tipping, thank you very much for joining us in the studio.